Marshall Wharf is a stop, a traditional stop for the course, the 5 or 6 day course I give at Whitehead Light Station here at the mouth of the Penobscot Bay off the coast of Maine, and it's a 5 or 6 day course that I present to half a dozen to 12 people for 5 or 6 days. We talk about beer. We try about 80 to 90 different kinds of beers over the period of time, tasting them, talking about beer history, beer evaluation, beer judging, beer and food, a lot of aspects about beer that is craft beer that is popular today with beer drinkers.
And is the group primarily from Maine, or is it from all over the country?
No, they're all from all over the country. This year we have people from Los Angeles, Michigan, New York City, Boston, Massachusetts. I'm from Colorado, and so usually get a mix from all over the country. People that are not only there because they love beer, but they want a great vacation experience as well, because the setting is absolutely fantastic. It's a 80-acre island with an active lighthouse, and people stay in the completely renovated, upgraded lighthouse keepers station, which has a long history. It's the 7th. This lighthouse is actually the 7th lighthouse that was commissioned by the United States, and it was actually commissioned by Thomas Jefferson back in the very early 1800s.
Wow, so it's got a pretty long history.
Yeah, and when you're surrounded by forests and rocks and ocean and history and that type of culture, and you're talking about beer.
Yeah, what better place to drink beer?
It's a great place to drink beer, whether the weather is as perfect as it has been this summer, or even some occasional nor'easter or the hurricane that comes through, and there's plenty of beer, there's plenty to talk about, and you're in the setting that is historic, cultural, and it's all about the coast of Maine and the Maine's history, and it's a reflection on America's history, and we really get into talking about beer and how it has integrated itself into the history of the USA as well, and other countries as well. So we're not only trying American craft beers, for example, but we're also exploring the world of Belgian beers and English beers and other European beers and beers from other countries that are trying to elevate their beer drinkers' experience with interesting and flavorful beers. And I'm a home brewer, and there's several home brewers that often take the class. So we also talk about how the beer is made and what ingredients might have been incorporated into what we're tasting to get that taste. But there's a little bit for everybody, and there's some days off where people can just go explore. We have a chest of beers that for the day that people can just enjoy on their own without having to, just like everybody else in the world that just sits down and has a beer without necessarily talking about the beer. There's time to do that as well.
Recently, there's been sort of a massive upswing in the popularity of craft beer in the United States. What do you think the reason for that is?
Wow, yeah, you're right on with that. There's over 2,000 breweries here in the United States now, and I'm president of the Brewers Association. We keep track of what's going on around the country, and we're also aware of over 1,000 people or companies that are planning to open a brewery. And at this pace, there's a brewery opening up every day into here now in 2012. What's causing that? There's a lot of things. People are realizing that there's more to beer than just light lager, which is a good beer and a refreshing type of style of beer, but there's so many other different styles out there. And the more you learn about beer and how it's made and where it came from, and particularly like the visits that we've had to Marshall Wharf Brewing today and Andrews Brewing right down the road, getting to know these brewers and the people and why they're doing it and how much passion they have for delivering a good beer to their customers. You just get involved in people getting more involved with their beer. It's not just beer for drinking's sake, but you feel the energy that these brewers are putting into it and the reasons why. And I'm thinking about today, and our 2 visits to 2 very small breweries. And I've led tours and visits to larger breweries, and they're fun, but it's kind of good, I think, to really make the effort to visit small breweries that, I mean, Andrews is very unusual. 20 years, they have a business model, and they've stayed that size for 20 years, which is remarkable. Most other breweries evolve. So it's kind of like going back in time and really examining, you know, what the original ales were here in this country back in 20, 30 years ago when people was just starting out, because it was just a pale ale and it was a porter and a stout usually, and that was really different, and that was really eccentric and very, very revolutionary back in the late 70s and early 80s. So it was nice to see that. And then coming here to Marshall Wharf, and I mean, this is a unique place too, but it's small, and they're really in touch with their customers, and they're making, fortunately for us, all these great beers, and a lot of beers. You don't usually see a brewery this small making that many beers, and particularly putting them in barrels and offering them to their public.
Do you think the marketplace is becoming more discerning about the flavour of the beers they're drinking than they were, say, 15, 20 years ago?
Yes. Beer drinkers and consumers in general in the United States, there's an element that is emerging, and it's growing as a movement, that people are caring a lot more about the food and beverage that they put into their mouth. Not only with beers, but with food. You know, drinking and eating local and understanding why you might have to pay a little bit more, because there's more value in that, and understanding the value of having, you know, having to pay more for hands-on quality of what you're enjoying, and understanding that is there's a growing awareness of that, and you see that not only with the beer, which is you know, growing quite rapidly right now, but also in other areas of food and beverage.
Yeah, so it's almost like the slow food movement, with people looking more to the artisanal side of production.
Right. Yeah, I've been involved. It's funny you mentioned slow food movement. I was one of the original American members of that organization in 1996. I think I joined, and I went over there in 1997 to one of their original one of their meetings, and you know, the core value, I identified with their core values and what they were trying to do, because that's what small brewers and home brewers were doing in the late 70s. And they really understood that, and they welcomed American craft brewers and beers participation in their events, because I think they saw that as one model of what the whole slow food movement could be, because what we were doing in the late 70s and early 80s, we were promoting beer appreciation and flavor and pleasure, as well as the whole food and beer experience. We were doing that just as we are doing it now, but in those days, before the internet, before rapid communication, and before this snowball effect of popularity, not many people were listening, but a lot more people are getting it now.
So you see a small brewery like Marshall Wharf as being really being an integral part of that whole global.
Yes, you know, Marshall Wharf represents the size and the ambiance of, like I said earlier, there are over 2,000 small brewers in this country. The vast majority of those brewers are small brewers, brewing 2,000 barrels or less. And Marshall Wharf is a brewery that brews about 700 barrels. So it's really the grassroots and foundation. It's not only the kind of things that they're doing, but I'm sure they're part of their roots are home brewing as well, and home brewers are a big part of what this is all about.